let's get into Amazon's algorithm and how it works. This can be a very complicated subject, but I'm going to try to break it down into a way for you to understand it a little bit more easily. So if you see here that we've got four different things that contribute to the way that Amazon ranks a product. And all an algorithm is going to be this very complicated, long formula that the computer is constantly running. That's crawling Amazon's data, monitoring clicks, monitoring buyer behavior, and basically using all of that information and figuring out where a product should rank on a keyword versus other products on that keyword. So this is the four factors that it looks at. It's going to look at these three things at the top, which are conversion rate, click-through rate, and revenue. We're gonna bucket those into what we call performance. And then down here, we've got relevancy. Now, the performance side of it is going to be multiplied times the relevancy. And the relevancy is going to be determined based on how you wrote your listing. So Amazon's going to scan the listing and get an idea of what are you selling just based on what you're telling me you're selling based on how you wrote it. And if Amazon's not clear on what you're selling because you didn't write it correctly, because you left a word out or you didn't write it correctly, then they're going to block your ability to rank to the top of search for a keyword. And we're going to show some examples of that and discuss that further. Now, the performance side of it is going to be relative to your competition. All of this is always relative to the competition. So we've got the conversion rate is going to be, and we're going to get into some, here. Click-through rate is total sessions divided by impressions. Your conversion rate is units sold divided by sessions. So how many times did you make a sale versus how many times people looked at it? And the revenue is going to be the total revenue generated through keywords and related keywords. And then the relevancy is the keywords as determined by the Amazon algorithm. Now, here's the way that it calculates this. It's not just it looks at it every day and then updates the rank every day. It's going to give you averages. It's going to look at the last day. It's going to look at the last 3 days averaged, the last 7-day average, the last 15-day average, the last 30-day average. And it's got a lot of these averages, 6 weeks, 60 days, 90 days, and 6 months even. Each of those averages have a different weight to them, which means that the newer the data, the more it's weighted heavier. So it's more important. But that old history still matters. So this is why older listings that have been in the same position for a long time can be harder to rank. This is also why we do something called preserve the honeymoon, which we'll get into. So keep in mind that you want to make sure your performance is good at all times and you don't run out of stock, you don't have periods of bad performance, and that if you've got a listing that's stale, that you've been selling already for a while, it might be a lot more cost effective to relaunch a new product versus trying to revitalize it. Now, we always get the question around what is a good conversion rate? The reality is that it really depends on the niche. There are very straightforward products where the average conversion rate for the top sellers is 45% or higher. This is going to be something like a $5, $6, $8, $10 product where there's not much differentiation in the design. People are on, it's a simple purchase for them and they just want to buy it. But you have another niche where there's not a lot of differentiation in design, but it's a little bit more expensive product and people are kind of shopping around a little bit more into something that they feel more comfortable with. That might have an average conversion rate of 25%. But then you've got very products that have a high degree of differentiation when it comes to design. So with the high design parity, and that conversion rate might be really good at 15%. So this would be something like, stuffed animals or gifts, like anything like a gift basket any type of designed product, shirts, clothing, accessories, jewelry, right? You can imagine that the conversion rate is much lower because someone is searching and they're not sure what they want or what resonates with the person that they're buying it for. Maybe they're looking for a very specific style and they can't quite get into keywords how it works or what they want. Now, or even if you're talking about like someone that likes dolphin jewelry, for example, and they search for dolphin earrings, the conversion rate's still going to be pretty drastically or much lower than something for like a can opener, because there are probably many types of dolphin earrings, and they're going to find the one that fits their budget and that they think that they're going to like the most, or the person they're buying it is liking the most. So it's very different depending on the type of niche you get into, what your conversion rate should be. So this 22% would be good for this niche, okay for this niche, and terrible for this niche, right? So just keep that in mind. Now, the click-through rate, when you first launch your product, you have to think that you're showing up on this search result. Usually, someone's typing a keyword and you're going to be in an ad position. You don't have any organic ranks yet, and you don't have any reviews yet. So the only things you can control are going to be your content, so your image, how you display the value of your product, and the price of your product. With those two levers, you can control how many units you sell. The better your content, the better the value you display, the more you can charge. The worse your content, the worse your image, the lower you have to lower your price. If I've got something I took on a picture of my product that I took on an iPhone 6, and that's my main image, I might have to have that product at $5 when my competitors are at $15 in order for me to get as many sales as them. But if I had beautifully designed professional images that were optimized with a nice design on my product, I might be able to charge $13, $14, or $15, or if it's even better, I might be able to charge $20. So when you first launch, the two levers you need to keep that are going to lead to people clicking are usually going to be your content and your price. Always keep that in mind. Now, you can't have conversions without traffic. So keep in mind that if you don't get clicks, you can't make sales. And then the final thing is that because your content is so important and your price is so important, the three things you can constantly test when you first launch your product are going to be different price points, different content, so different main images, different secondary images once you get them in, and different coupon amounts. You should control those. The coupon is really a portion of price. You can put a bigger coupon, which is an ultimately lowering your take or your price that they pay. So control those three levers. Now, relevancy is super important, and the way that this is that we want to for you to understand why this is because Amazon doesn't want to be a flea market of unrelated products. If you search for red spatula, you should get these results. You shouldn't get a whole bunch of sets that happen to have a red spatula in it. Because if someone wanted this pot and pan set with spatulas, they probably would have searched for pot and pan set, or added the word set or utensils, or any number of keywords that would convey that they wanted this much larger kitchen set versus just a spatula. And they definitely don't want knives to show up, or cake cutters, or whatever these are. So you have to keep in mind that Amazon's going to interpret what you wrote into your listing when you first write it in order to really understand what you're selling, and then either allow you to rank for that by establishing a relevancy score. So if your relevancy score is 100%, then you can rank for it all. If it's 75% for a keyword, you might be blocked. That means Amazon's not sure you belong there. You might be locked down to like position 25 to 45 into that bottom of page 1 onto page 2 range, no matter how good your performance is. So the way to establish better relevancy would be to rewrite your listing and send them the right signals. That's why keyword research is so important. That's why understanding how the algorithm works is so important. Now, when you first launch, big tip is that you don't want to run auto campaigns, because what happens is you might confuse Amazon and they might index you as a product you're not selling because they don't quite know yet. Now, if you wrote your listing well, you can kind of avoid that. But auto campaigns, we usually wait until a few days in, and we'll get into that with the PPC strategy. And for you guys that don't know, an auto campaign is where you let Amazon just kind of show your product where they think it belongs, and then adjust, with a maximum bid that you set, and let them kind of figure out where to sell it. So you don't have any control over it in that sense. And so you don't want them to show you for a bunch of keywords you don't belong for, happen to make a sale, and all of a sudden now they think you're selling something you're not. So with regards to revenue, it's very clear. The higher you're charging, the less units you need to sell. But keep in mind that a higher priced product will likely have a lower click-through rate and conversion rate. For most products, people want the cheaper option. So it's going to be harder to rank a $50 product on a keyword that has a bunch of $20 options, right? So just keep that in mind. Most people are going to go for that cheaper option. And so it's going to be harder to have the performance, the other parts of the performance, the click-through rate and conversion rate, to bring up the keyword ranks. Now, another thing you guys need to know about is called ranking juice. Ranking juice is how we kind of calculate your rank potential for keywords based on the way you wrote your listing and your performance. So it's how much keyword ranking credit is also given to your listing based on actions like clicks, add to carts, and sales. So if I were to give you an idea of how ranking works, I'm going to give you this money in the bank analogy that some of you may have heard me say in the past. So what I want you to visualize is that your product is a bank, and every single keyword is a bank account. Now, even though in the keyword research you only find a couple hundred keywords, there are thousands of keywords. They might only be searched a few times a month, but there are thousands of keywords, long tail, more relevant, less relevant. For every single action you get, a click, an add to cart, someone browsing your reviews, a purchase, you're going to get credit for a lot of those keywords based on a few things. The match type is one of them. The way you wrote your listing is another one. But that credit you get is going to go into the bank account of that keyword. How do you unlock that bank account? How do you unlock that credit so that you can rank higher than your competition? Now, your competitors might not have a lot of credit in that bank account, so you might not need to write an exact form or unlock it all in order to beat them. Remember, it's relative. But if you write your listing with an exact form of that keyword in your title, that's going to send the strongest possible signal to Amazon what you're selling. And it's going to unlock, from a relevancy standpoint, maximum relevancy for you to unlock the potential. So unlocking is almost always due to relevancy. And if you have a relevancy issue, you can have an indexing issue. And if you have an indexing issue, you might not be able to rank for a keyword or a set of keywords or a root word, an entire sets of keywords. Now, getting credit into those bank accounts is by sending traffic and getting conversions and getting actions. So you can send traffic with that performance piece, with paid traffic and organic traffic. But unlocking it to rank organically is going to be based on how you wrote your listing. And that's the importance of keyword research and keyword and establishing the right relevancy. So we call that ranking juice. The more ranking juice you have, the more ranking potential you have. You might not need to unlock all of it, but you want to get a lot of it. Hope that clarifies it a little bit. So let's talk about how the attribution credit works. Remember, you get an action, it impacts thousands of keywords. So if a customer searches for dog hat, right, you're going to get credit for dog hat, Dog hats. Dog hats for large dogs. Dog hats for small dogs. Dog hat for small dog. Now you're getting a little bit of credit for all of those, and the amount of credit you're getting is going to be based on the match type. But it's impossible for Amazon to rank you for thousands of keywords and wait for an action to happen on each of those keywords. So let's talk about how that match type happens. If it's an exact match, it's going to be 100%. They searched for dog hat, and you're going to get 100% credit for dog hat. Plural match might be 70%. And so if they search for dog hat, you're going to get 70% ranking juice credit for the keyword dog hats, because it's the exact same thing, but just different by a plural, right? Now, for ranking, plurals are different from each other. If you search right now on Amazon for dog hat and dog hats, you'll get different sets of search results. This is because the conversion rate, the optimization, and the relevancy is different for each of those listings, okay? For PPC, plurals are the same thing. We're going to get into that when we get to the PPC section. I know that I get that question a lot, so I want to establish that for you. But let's take a look at this one. We've got a phrase match here where you get 50% credit. We've got dog hats, dog hat for small dogs here. So if they search for dog hat, I'm going to get phrase credit for dog hat for small dogs because I have dog hat in it. I have this phrase in it in exact form and in the same order. Okay. Now, dog hats for large dogs and dog hats for small dogs, I would get a phrase plural match, which would be 50% times 70%. So it'd be even less. Now, if we have a broad match, that would be where these are out of order. So that would be something like saying hat for dogs. Hat for dogs would be a broad match because the words are there, but they're out of order. And hat for dogs is also plural. So it would be a plural broad match. So I know this is getting a little confusing, but I wanted to show you guys how this works. So dog hat, if they search for hat for dog, that would be a broad match because hat and dog are in it, but it's out of order. I hope everyone can understand that. But if it's hats for dog, it would be broad match, but also plural match, which would mean it would be 70% of 30%. So it'd be even less credit. Now, that's how Amazon can give you lots of credit for lots of keywords at the same time by giving you incremental credit for all those keywords. They can't just give you 100% credit for all of them. So they have to look at the signal, figure out what they searched for, how you wrote your listing, and then give you the credit for those keywords. Now, like, in addition to the credit you get for how you wrote your listing, you're going to get the credit for those keywords regardless into those bank accounts that you might not even know the keyword exists, but you got credit in the bank account. Now, in order to unlock it, you need to write it into your listing and establish the relevancy. So let's show another example here. We've got hat for dog and dog hat. We've got a broad match here. Red hats for dogs is, again, phrase and plural and phrase plural. And then we got hats for dogs instead of dog hat. That's an hats for dog, or dog hat would be exact match 100%. But dog hat, hats for dogs, it's not going straight across. Hats for dog was the example that I gave, and hat for dog was the example. So these are exact examples I just gave you so you can understand, but it's not straight across. So the hat for dog, again, would be the broad match. It's not broad plural, it's just broad match. And it's not 70%. I'm sorry about that. The broad match is only 30%. So this should be 30%. Yeah, and phrase match is 50%. So phrase is 50%, plural's 30%. So phrase, plural's 30%. So I apologize for that confusion. Just use this chart here and get an idea of what phrase and broad is. So I'll clarify it one more time. Okay. Exact match would be dog hat to dog hat. All right. Phrase match would be red dog hat to dog hat. Dog hat is still in order. Plural's obvious. It would be dog hats and dog hat, right? It would be just be the plural form, or dog's hat and dog hat. Now, the broad match would be hat for dog, because it's the same two words, but they're out of order. So out of order is broad, in order is phrase, and plural and exact are obvious. Okay, so that way you guys can you can do it. So here's what I want you guys to do. We're going to give you you don't need to do it here, but I'm going to give you a downloadable practical exercise. When you get the replay, you're going to have an example sheet that has what they searched for on one end, and what the credit you want to get is, right? For the keyword you want to get credit. And then you're going to explain what match type it is and how much credit you think you should get. So that's going to be an exercise that you guys do on your own. And then we'll put out the answer. I'll have an answer key for you as well. All right, let's get some questions on the Amazon algorithm before we move on to the next section.
Can I ask one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it? Yeah, so when do you start running the auto ads? How long after the...
Yeah, so we've moved that up. It used to be after a review and like waiting, but it's after a few days. Once you see that you're indexing and your keywords are moving in the right direction, I think you're more than comfortable to do it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. David.
Hey, is there a way to see those bank accounts that you've accrued on particular listings, even if you haven't unlocked them?
You can't see how much credit you have there, but you can play with some things to try to unlock more. So this is when we've got hundreds of case studies on this from DataDive users that have started using DataDive. They rewrite their title just by adding one word or two words into it and immediately rank better for a keyword, right? So they had credit in the bank account of that keyword, but they weren't unlocking it because they weren't establishing relevancy by writing it into their listing. So there's no way to see how much credit you got there, but if you rewrite your listing and put that in exact form in the title, which is worth more than anywhere else, then you'll get the maximum. You'll be able to cash in the maximum that's there, and then you'll see how much is there.
What I mean though is not necessarily how much credit you have, but like you even mentioned, like you might be accruing credit for a word that you don't even know that you're accruing it for. Like, is there a way to see, like, on the back end, like, I have been hitting this word and it's been building up, but I just need to unleash it?
Two ways to do it. One is going to be when you do a DataDive master keyword list, you'll get hundreds and hundreds of keywords. The other way is going to be from your search term report from your PPC. When you're running your search term report from PPC, and then there's search query performance as well from Amazon, which is a great tool as well. So you got search query performance from Amazon's side. You have your PPC broad and phrase and match and auto campaigns that are running. So you got the search term reports there. And then you have DataDive. Between the three of them, you should have visibility on every keyword that you're getting credit for.
So smart. I should have thought of that.
Yeah, no worries. Michelle. I can't hear you, but you're unmuted, Michelle. Maybe your mic's not on the right setting. You can keep playing with it. Mike, I'll move on to Mike.
How's it going? Is there a way to see the category niche, like in what like the average conversion rate is for a category, so we know what to do before getting in?
Yeah, that would be in your brand analytics. You should be able to see what the average is for the leaders for the top three for each keyword. So Amazon's giving you that now.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Sarah.
Hey, so if you have dog hat, that's your exact, and then you're looking at your broad hat for dog, then is hat for dogs, because it's plural, 70% of the 30%? Is that what
Yeah,
it means?
exactly. That's what I was trying to get at. Then you have to multiply it by the plural, like, which is less than 100. So it'll go down even more.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Gareth. Gareth, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I was going to say the percentages that you mentioned, are they modified by position within the title and across bullet points and other places within the listing?
So where that matters, the position matters, is how much you can unlock. That's establishing your relevancy and allowing you to how much you can cash out.
Right. So for example, if I put an exact match phrase at the beginning of the title as opposed to it being at the end of the title or in a bullet, does it have the same ranking juice?
No, so title is the most, but beginning of title is worth more than the middle of the title or the end of the title. It's slightly different. And then the bullets are worth second minus subject matter, but we don't recommend using subject matter in the back end because they randomly take it away from some subcategories and then you'll get de-indexed. So okay. What I would say is like the order that I would use or that we do use is title, bullets, back end search terms, and then the lowest would be descriptions. We have that in a slide later as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Rachel.
Hi.
Hey.
How would you go about establishing relevancy for older listing that the title hasn't been written in the correct way to begin with?
So the best way to optimize a listing that's been around for a long time, that has some things going right for it, but obviously some things you can improve.
Correct. Has a lot of reviews, but not so much, you don't rank so well organically. In other words, you're running PPC and...
Well, if nothing's right, then you can revamp the whole listing.
No, it has tons of reviews.
No. If nothing, I'm talking about not from a velocity standpoint, organic sales and everything, keyword ranks. Nothing's good, then you can rewrite the whole thing. But and then try to do a refresh. You can call into Amazon once you rewrite the title and the bullets and like maximize the ranking potential, the ranking juice. You can ask them to refresh your listing. What I would say is you could do that two ways. Like you got to get to the right team at Amazon. So a trick that we use is that we'll ask for the Spanish team. Just say, Español, por favor, and they'll transfer you to the Costa Rica team, which is the one of the best teams at Amazon. They've got what they call the captive team and the catalog team there. Now you ask them that you can speak to them in English as soon as they pick up. They all speak great English. And then you ask them,
I've done that. Okay.
Yeah, can you please refresh my listing? I need a listing refresh. And then what that does is it has the algorithm rescan your listing. And now that you've got all this history from PPC and all this juice and like maybe credit for keywords, but it needs to be rescanned for relevancy because Amazon gave up after a while.
So you'll lose everything you do have. In other words, like in Datadog, we have like 70% keywords.
So you have some things going right with 70%.
Yeah, 60 to 70%, but really for the amount of reviews this listing has, we should be at 90%. So how do you pick up from there?
Reviews are separate from keyword ranks. So what
So how do you?
Yeah, so what I would say there is don't throw everything out then and rewrite the whole listing. Find the one root word. Like there's probably 2, 3, 4, 5 roots that you're not doing well with, that you haven't established relevancy. Like you'll just see those holes, right? You'll see that you're like 60 or 80 or not even indexed for a bunch of keywords, those 30%. And then you'll see like that there's patterns there, like whatever the word that's shared between all those. Pick one of those, rewrite one of those into your title, like one of those keywords into your title, and then see how it goes. Things go up, things go down. If it goes down, then you revert back to the other title. But if it goes up and it starts moving in the right direction, now you need to turn on PPC campaigns targeting as many keywords with that route that you put in, so you can get more traffic, you can get more events, right? So the optimization of a
to establish the relevance. So you use PPC to establish the relevancy for new
no,
keywords.
you establish the relevancy by writing, and what you need to do is get more credit in the bank by adding more traffic and conversions and events. So that's how you get paid. Then you need paid traffic and organic traffic mixed, pushing at it. But you need to send it the reason that this strategy works so well for ranking is because you've got all of these keywords that share the words, so they share the root words, right? So you're getting broad match credit, phrase match credit, plural credit, right? You're getting all these credit a little bit at a time, but it's going into the bank and building up the bank account. You can't rank for one keyword by only throwing a bunch of money at one keyword. You're never going to get as much credit in the bank as all your competitors who have a wide foundation of rankings. So start with revising the listing and optimizing it. Make sure you revise conversion first. So you're going to, Anthony's got a great section in this class about content. And so you'll see there, do that first. You want to solve the conversion issue before you send traffic. And then change the title, establish relevancy, see how much credit was in the bank you weren't taking advantage of, and then start sending traffic so you can get more actions, more events, and start climbing the keyword ranks.
Yeah. Okay, it's not only not taking advantage of it at all, because some you just don't have that high of a relevancy. In other words, you can maybe index, but you may be at 100. So
yeah, 100 would mean like they think that it's probably not relevant. Like
right, okay, that was an
even if
exaggeration.
you're performing in PPC, if they've thrown you all the way down to page 3, then they're like, it's probably not relevant for that keyword. That's what they think by reading it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at which point would you do a total refresh?
Oh, if you had like 30% of the search volume and a lot of reviews, like that's one way to do it. Another one would be to launch a new variation as its own listing. Get a whole new honeymoon, brand new launch, crush all the keywords, like go through all the strategy that we're going to teach you today, and then merge it in with the other listing so you get all the old reviews. That would be another strategy as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Bryant, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going, Brandon? So I just had a question on duplicating keywords. So say we pick 3 to 5. Is there much value in putting them in the description and bullets, or not so much?
Yeah, so don't duplicate the same phrase, like the same exact keyword match, if you can help it. But sometimes you can't help like repeat a root word, like dog bed, right? Like I'm looking at a master keyword list right now, and there's 300 keywords that have dog bed in it with 1.4 million. You have to write a bunch of those keywords into your listing in different places that have the same root dog bed, right? Just inevitable. But I wouldn't write dog bed for large dog as a phrase, right? I wouldn't write that in every single section and try it. It's not cumulative. It's not going to accumulate and give you more credit. It's what Amazon's going to do is find one and give you the credit for that spot. So you're giving them the opportunity to give you credit for a lesser important spot by doing that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Kasim, I'm going to take a few more
Hi,
and then
Brandon.
move on to the next section. Hey.
Hi, Brandon. My question was, what do we do when we have a bundle with the product? So do we have to put those, like specify that bundle as keyword? The reason why I'm asking is, will that confuse the relevancy? Because say in our listing, nobody's doing a bundle of that product. Like say we are giving a digital product with our listing, but nobody's doing that. So my understanding, Amazon doesn't understand that. So how do we introduce that? Do we have to mention that in the listing, or just not mention it at all?
So the litmus I would ask you here is like, is anyone searching for that extra thing you're giving?
No.
Then, you can mention it as an add-on or a bonus, and you can put it in your main image. And I would probably, if you think it's a benefit enough to the buyer that it's going to lead to higher conversion, then you can mention it in your top bullet and mention it in your second image, like be like, plus bonus ebook or whatever, right? So you can mention it in places that aren't the title if the title's too important and you don't have the room for it. But you can,
Yeah.
if it's just an ebook and a couple like 6 or 8 characters, you can say, you know, bonus ebook or plus ebook or free. Like you don't want to use the word free and you don't want to use bonus or gift. Like those are keywords you want to avoid. But
can I say includes?
Yeah, includes ebook,
with,
right? Or plus ebook, right? So you can it's going to take up some space and the you know, in a very valuable real estate. So
that's my question. So
test with and
do
without.
we use it? Yeah.
If you keep it out of the title, make sure you put it in the listing where people read, which is going to be that second image and top bullet and that main image.
Okay. Yeah.
And
so we want to include that in the main
plus.
image. We want to put that in the main image, but would Amazon like, you know, do a digital image processing and they would see, or is it like they only go with the keyword?
No, you should like, they're not going to scan the image and scan your listing and say it doesn't match.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that.
They're not going to do it. Okay. So, but still put it in listing somewhere.
Of course. Yeah. If it's included and they're going to get it, make sure you include it in your listing.
Okay.
Right.
Cool. Thank you.
Sahid.
Hi, Brendan. How are you?
Good.
I got a simple question. During the product launch, how many times and how often should you update your title? And what's the best way to edit the title? I mean, partial update, like changing few keywords, or change it completely, the title?
So I'm hardly ever changing the entire title unless it's catastrophic, right? Like I usually test one keyword one root word at a time, because that's going to be I want to pull one lever at a time. What ends up happening, and the reason why, is that if I change too many things and I need to send too much traffic, I'm sending too much paid traffic. I'm lowering my conversion rate, and I'm causing my overall performance of my listing to go down relative to my competition. So I'm going to hurt my keyword ranks. What I'm doing ultimately is I'm pushing and pulling at the same time instead of just pushing up. So one route at a time is the best strategy for optimization. When you launch, I'm changing the title on a regular basis in the first 2 to 4 weeks, because I'm testing different, like if I've got a specific root word that's overperforming, I'm going to push. We get into that later with the PPC and what we do with optimization after launch. So we'll talk about that a little bit, but we are doing it. We're changing the title for sure.
Thanks.
Okay. Really quickly, guys, we got to move on to the next section. It's going to be a long class. Andy.
Broad modified, does that come in at the same ranking as just broad? And the second one is like product targeting. When do we come in with product targeting? Does that affect us in terms of how the algorithm looks at ranking?
What do you mean by broad modified?
So broad modified is where you put a plus in front of each word and then they make it mandatory that it's in the phrasing. So in other words, if you have something under phrase, you could have dog hat. It has to have dog hat in that same way. If you do that as a broad modified dog plus hat, it can be hat, it can be dog, but it has to have both of them inside the phrase, inside the keyword search.
So I don't know how the modified is going to impact like the credit that you get into the ranking juice, if that's what you're asking. But I think like it's going to, however that would display what they search for with the modified in that order would probably be as close to an exact match or whatever match type you get there. So yeah. I imagine that it's similar credit that you're getting.
So would that be similar to phrase or?
Should be in the exact order if you did it's broad. Well, if it's in the same order, it's phrase.
It can be hat dog or dog hat or anything like that. But when you put a plus in front of the word, it's mandatory that word is actually in the search phrasing. Or
so that would be in the exact same order, which would be phrase match.
Yeah. So, but it's not in the same order. But two words have to be involved. Any word with a plus is mandatory.
If it's out of order, you get the broad match. If it's in order, you get the phrase match. You get more credit for phrase.
Okay. And then when do we come in with product targeting? Does that affect what's happening in terms of our keyword ranking, etc.? Or
so that's more for an indexing thing. And I don't think you get a lot of keyword ranks for, I know sponsored products is where you get most of your ranking from paid traffic. And what's interesting is that product targeting does show up for keywords. So it really depends where you're showing up and what you're getting the sales through. And then you're getting some velocity and dollars matter. So like your like overall revenue matters for ranking. So you are helping your rank a little bit, but it's not as effective as like a direct keyword match.
It doesn't confuse the algorithm?
No, if you're targeting something that's highly relevant, it should help the algorithm understand what you're selling, right?
So
Because
you
you're
do that-
mapping, essentially you're mapping your keywords to theirs.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah. Guys, I am sorry. I'm going to move on, and then we could save more questions for the Q&A at the end. So keep track of your questions. Go ahead and lower your hands. Let's move on to the next segment.